Have you ever wondered why, despite following everyone else's advice and expectations, you still feel empty inside? Maybe you've built a life that seems perfect from the outside, but something is still missing. And here comes the question that can change everything. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and asked yourself if you're living the life you truly want? Not the one others expect from you, not the one that seems right to everyone else, but the one that truly resonates with your soul. Carl Jung, one of the most profound thinkers in modern psychology, dedicated his life to understanding this disconnection. And what he discovered was revealing. Most of us spend decades learning lessons that, had we understood them earlier, would have saved us years of unnecessary suffering. Today we're going to explore 5 fundamental life lessons, according to Jung's philosophy, lessons that most people learn too late, when they've already spent years, sometimes decades, living lives that don't belong to them. The first lesson, and perhaps the most transformative, is that choosing yourself is not an act of selfishness, but of psychological survival. Jung understood something that modern society seems to have forgotten, that our connection with our unconscious is not optional, it's an essential part of who we are. Think for a moment. How many times have you felt that discomfort in your chest, that feeling that something isn't right, even though everything in your life seems correct by external standards? That feeling, that persistent unease, is not coincidence or weakness. It's your soul speaking to you, showing you that there's something you need to change, even though you're afraid to do it. Jung explained it this way. When we systematically ignore the signals from our unconscious, when we choose to please others above our inner truth, we create a rupture within ourselves. And that rupture sooner or later will manifest as anxiety, depression, or a profound feeling of existential emptiness. Does that sound familiar? The good news is that it's never too late to start listening to yourself. And here's the paradox. When you finally choose yourself, when you honor your needs and your truths, not only do you benefit, but all your relationships do too. Because how can you authentically give to others when you're operating from a place of internal lack? The second lesson Jung left us is that our shadows contain our greatest treasures. Have you ever wondered why you keep repeating the same negative patterns? Why you attract the same type of dysfunctional relationships? Why, despite your best intentions, you end up sabotaging your own efforts? Jung developed the concept of the shadow to describe those parts of ourselves that we've repressed, ignored, or denied. Everything we consider unacceptable, weak, or shameful, we push into the depths of our unconscious. But here's the trap. What we repress doesn't disappear. It strengthens in the darkness and begins to direct our life from the shadows. Imagine this. You've grown up believing that expressing anger is unacceptable. You've repressed that emotion all your life, smiling even when inside you are burning with rage. Over time, that repressed emotion finds indirect ways to manifest. Maybe you become passive-aggressive, or develop physical problems, or attract people who uncontrollably express the anger that you don't allow yourself to feel. Jung's invitation is radical. Instead of running from your shadows, turn toward them. Look directly at what you've been avoiding. Because paradoxically, it's only when you accept those unacceptable parts of yourself that you begin to be truly free. And how do you do this? Start by paying attention to what triggers you emotionally. Those people or situations that deeply irritate you are touching unresolved aspects of your own psyche. Each irritation is an invitation to look inward. Each exaggerated reaction is a doorway to self-knowledge. The third lesson that many learn too late is that synchronicity is not coincidence, but a reflection of your internal alignment. Jung coined the term synchronicity to describe those meaningful coincidences that cannot be explained by conventional causality. Those moments when the right person appears at the right time, or when you find exactly the information you needed without looking for it. Have you ever experienced those magical moments when everything seems to fit together perfectly? Jung invites us to see these synchronicities not as mere coincidences, but as manifestations of a deep connection between our inner and outer worlds. The fascinating thing is that, according to Jung, These synchronicities increase significantly when we live in alignment with our true nature. It's as if the universe responds to our decision to live authentically, bringing what we need and removing what no longer serves us. Think about it. Haven't you noticed that when you finally make a difficult but necessary decision, ending a toxic relationship, leaving a draining job, establishing a healthy boundary, suddenly new opportunities, people, or circumstances appear that support your new direction? It's not magic or coincidence. It's the natural result of aligning your exterior with your interior. And this leads us directly to the fourth vital lesson. Your relationships are mirrors of your relationship with yourself. Jung deeply understood that the people we attract into our lives reflect our internal state. If you allow someone to cross your boundaries over and over again, it's not because that person is particularly manipulative, but because there's a part of you that still hasn't learned to protect itself. Think about your current relationships. How many of them make you feel inspired, motivated, and at peace? And how many leave you exhausted, confused, or even empty? This is not an invitation to blame others for how you feel, but to recognize that your relationships are powerful indicators of your relationship with yourself. One of Jung's most profound observations is that we cannot give what we do not have. If you constantly sacrifice your well-being, your time, or your dreams to please others, what you're offering is not authentic love, it's dependency, it's fear, it's the need for approval disguised as generosity. True love, toward yourself and others, can only flourish when you've chosen yourself first, when you've established healthy boundaries, and when you've learned to value your own company. This brings us to the fifth and perhaps most liberating lesson from Jung. Intuition is your internal compass, and learning to trust it is the most revolutionary act you can do. In a world that values logic, data, and external opinions above all, Jung reminded us that intuition is not a mystical or irrational phenomenon. It's a legitimate and powerful form of knowledge, a direct connection to our collective unconscious, that vast reservoir of wisdom that transcends our individual experience. Have you ever made a decision that seemed illogical at the time, but later revealed itself to be absolutely correct? Or have you ignored that gut feeling, only to regret it later? Those moments are your intuition trying to guide you. Intuition speaks in whispers, not shouts. To hear it, you need to create space for silence, for reflection. In a world saturated with noise and distractions, this simple act of listening to yourself becomes a revolutionary act. Jung believed that intuition is especially valuable when we're in moments of transition or crisis, when the old maps no longer serve us, and we need to navigate unknown territory. It's in those moments that we most need to trust that internal compass. Now, these 5 lessons are not mere theory. Jung lived them personally, going through his own spiritual crisis, what he called his confrontation with the unconscious. For years, he immersed himself in his dreams, visions, and fantasies, meticulously documenting this internal journey. What he discovered changed not only his life, but our collective understanding of the human psyche. What Jung shows us through his own experience and his vast therapeutic work is that choosing yourself is not the end of the road. It's barely the beginning. Because once you've made the decision to live authentically, the real work begins. Integrating your shadows, trusting your intuition, establishing healthy relationships, and being attentive to the synchronicities that guide you. This process is not easy. There will be resistance, both internal and external. The world will not always understand your decision to prioritize your truth over social conventions. There will be those who criticize you, who question your choices, and even those who distance themselves because you no longer fit their expectations. Jung experienced this personally when he separated from Freud and the psychoanalytic orthodoxy of his time. He faced criticism, professional isolation, and personal doubts. But he also discovered that by staying true to his vision, he attracted people who resonated with his work, creating a legacy that has transformed millions of lives. And what about you? What are those truths that you've been ignoring? What decisions have you postponed out of fear of disapproval from others? Maybe it's that draining job that you keep because it seems secure. Maybe it's that relationship that you know no longer works, but that you cling to out of fear of loneliness. Or perhaps it's those dreams that you've buried because someone at some point told you they weren't realistic. Jung reminds us that we are not here to fulfill the expectations of others, but to discover and live our own personal myth, our own unique story. Imagine for a moment how your life would be if you could let go of everything that doesn't serve you. How would you feel if you set aside relationships that drain your energy, commitments that don't resonate with you, and expectations that you never wanted to fulfill? Imagine the freedom, the lightness, and the clarity you could experience. This is not an unattainable fantasy. It's a real possibility that's within your reach if you decide, as Jung proposed, to choose yourself even when it seems that everything around you is pushing you in another direction. The path to authenticity is not linear. There will be days when you feel strong and confident, and others when you doubt everything. Those moments of doubt are part of the process, and Jung saw them as opportunities to deepen your connection with yourself. Each challenge, each setback, is an invitation to reflect, to learn, and to grow. As you begin to live from this authenticity, something wonderful happens. Your intuition becomes stronger. That inner voice that once seemed weak or confused begins to guide you with more clarity. You start making decisions that not only make logical sense, but also feel right deep in your being. This is perhaps the most valuable lesson Jung left us, that true north is not outside of us but within, that we don't need to accumulate more information, more theories, or more external opinions. What we need is the courage to listen to and trust that wisdom we already carry inside. And the more you trust that wisdom, the more synchronicities you experience. It's as if the universe is confirming that you're on the right path, bringing people, ideas and opportunities that support your growth. It's no coincidence that you're hearing this message right now. Perhaps it's a synchronicity, a sign that it's time to choose yourself, to honor your truth, and to begin living from your authenticity. Jung firmly believed that the central purpose of human life is individuation, the process of integrating the conscious and unconscious aspects of our psyche to become a whole, unified being. This is not a process that is completed once and for all. It's a continuous journey, a daily commitment to your truth. And why is it so important? Because as Jung discovered, when we refuse to undertake this journey, when we systematically ignore our inner truth, we pay an enormous price. Anxiety, depression, relational conflicts, even many physical illnesses can be manifestations of this internal disconnection. The good news is that it's never too late to begin. No matter how many decades you've spent ignoring your inner voice, the moment to reconnect with it is now. And the first step is surprisingly simple. Begin to pay attention. Pay attention to what energizes you and what drains you. Pay attention to your dreams, to your daydreams, to those fleeting ideas that appear when you least expect them. Pay attention to your body, to how it responds to different situations and people. All of these are messages from your unconscious, trying to guide you toward your truth. And as you pay attention, remember to be compassionate with yourself. The journey to authenticity is not about doing everything perfectly. It's about honoring the process, celebrating each small step toward your truth, even and especially when that step scares you. Jung understood that fear is a natural part of this journey. Fearing the unknown, fearing disapproval, fearing failure. These fears are universal. The difference lies in how we respond to them. Do we use them as excuses to remain stuck? Or do we recognize them as indicators that we're on the threshold of something important? One of the most powerful tools Jung left us for navigating this territory is dream work. He believed that dreams are direct messages from the unconscious, offerings of wisdom and guidance that our conscious mind might not perceive. Have you ever taken the time to reflect on your dreams? To pay attention to the patterns, symbols, and emotions that appear in them? This simple act of attention can open surprising doors to self-knowledge. Another practice that Jung greatly valued was what he called active imagination, a process of conscious dialogue with figures and symbols from our unconscious. Through this internal dialogue, we can access parts of ourselves that have been repressed or ignored, gradually integrating them into our consciousness. But perhaps the most accessible and transformative practice Jung recommended was simply honest reflection, taking time each day to ask, am I living in accordance with my deepest values? Are my actions aligned with my inner truth? What adjustments do I need to make to live more authentically? These questions, when posed with sincerity and answered with honesty, can be the catalyst for profound changes in your life. Because, as Jung discovered, true transformation doesn't come from following a set of external rules or accumulating more knowledge. It comes from this continuous internal dialogue, from this dance between the conscious and the unconscious. And as you embark on this journey, remember that you're not alone. Jung believed in the power of the collective unconscious, that vast network of symbols, archetypes, and shared experiences that connects all of humanity. This connection means that, although your path to authenticity is unique, the forces that guide you are universal. That's why so many people resonate with Jung's teachings decades after his death, because they speak to a truth that we intuitively recognize, even though our modern culture tries to deny it, that our true nature transcends what we can see or touch, that there is a deep wisdom within us waiting to be discovered. So I ask you again, when was the last time you looked in the mirror and asked yourself if you're living the life you truly want? And what would happen if, right now, you made the decision to choose yourself, to honor your truth, even when that means challenging external expectations? I can't promise it will be easy. Jung himself warned that the path to individuation is full of challenges, but he also promised something extraordinary, that at the end of that path lies not only a more authentic life, but also a more meaningful, more connected one, and paradoxically, one more useful to others. Because when you choose yourself, when you honor your true nature, you don't just transform yourself, you also transform the energetic field around you, inspiring others to do the same. Your courage becomes a beacon for those who are seeking their own path. And in this process, you don't just change your life, but you contribute to a collective change. This is what Jung deeply understood, that individual and collective transformation are inextricably intertwined. That each time a person has the courage to live authentically, to integrate their shadows, and to honor their intuition, they create an expanding wave that affects everything and everyone around them. So I invite you to take these 5 lessons: choosing yourself, integrating your shadows, trusting synchronicities, seeing your relationships as mirrors, and following your intuition, not as simple abstract ideas, but as invitations to action. Ask yourself, what small step can I take today to live more authentically? What truth have I been avoiding that needs to be acknowledged? What boundaries do I need to establish in my relationships? What is my intuition telling me that I've been ignoring? The answers to these questions contain the seeds of your transformation. And although the path may seem lonely at times, remember that you're not alone. There is a growing community of people committed to this journey toward authenticity. People who, like you, are seeking a truer and more meaningful way to live. This channel, this community, is one of those spaces where we can share this journey together, where we can inspire each other, learn from our experiences, and remind ourselves that, as Jung believed, life is not about being perfect, but about being complete. If this message has resonated with you, if it has touched something within you that recognizes these truths, I invite you to share it with someone who might need it. Leave a comment sharing which of Jung's lessons has been most meaningful to you, or what small step you plan to take toward a more authentic life. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications for more content that explores these deep psychological and spiritual truths. Together, we can create a community of individuals committed to living from their authenticity, inspiring and supporting each other on this journey. Remember, you're not alone on this path. And although the journey to authenticity can be challenging, the rewards are immense. As Jung himself said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And that privilege is waiting for you right now if you have the courage to claim it. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for being part of this exploration. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue to delve into these transformative truths that, as Jung understood, have the power to change not only our individual lives, but the entire world.